I've been listening and thinking about everything that people said, and one thing that Shauna said really resonated with me, and that's that, you know, like, I am pretty angry, and some people say that maybe I'm too hard on men. 4 of my 5 best friends are men, and I'm very lucky to have a dad and another dad that are actually even more feminist than me. But I have to note that in this room, and thank you to the men who did decide to show up, but, you know, like, if men want me to be less hard on them, then a lot of them need to do better, because there could have been more of them here today. So, I guess what I'm trying to get to, though, is, like, often I've heard lately that people want a trigger warning at a poetry reading for certain poems, but, like, yeah, I'm just one walking trigger warning when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, I'll try to start somewhat light, but yeah, we'll see where it goes from there. I did take some, when they still called it women's studies. I think it's good that we call it gender studies now, because there's definitely issues on both sides of the gender stuff. Unfortunately, especially in the last few years, it's been a really hard time to be a woman. But yeah, so one of the things that I read was, I can't think of her name right now, but she wrote about a room of one's own. And at that time, it was about how women needed enough pocket money and a space of their own to be themselves. And I don't disagree with that, but I was thinking about, like, how we need to build on that. And so the newer feminists come up with some great terms. I don't know if you guys have heard of the term manspreading. But when I say that, I bet a lot of you women know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's just that a lot of, but particularly white men feel very entitled to walk around the world and just take up a lot of space. But if I try to do the same thing, I'm often told that I'm too much, or, you know, all sorts of interesting stuff. So this was my poem kind of building on that, and it's called Roominations of a Woman. I have a room of my own, but in many ways that room has become a prison, where I have to hide myself. Women need more than one room. They need to know that they can move through the world as freely as man might, to know that they have the right to take up just as much space without first having to contort the expansive power of their femininity into a frame that will be pleasing to others, a frame that never really fit around femininity in the first place. Because masculine and feminine are not concepts with static definitions. We exist on spectrums of experience that give us the idea of who we are, and ideas are not always facts. In fact, if you really think about it, reality is just a massive construct of concepts that flash in and out of our consciousness, like the twilight glow of a firefly passing. The world is a home where all of our energy must coexist, and this woman needs more than one room to house her extensive existence.